Today I'm sitting down with Marissa, a business mentor who went from 8-figure COO to helping high-performing women build businesses that are not just profitable but deeply aligned with who they actually are.
Any entrepreneur, no matter, what your background and skill set is, you're going
Right.
to have something that's going to require an identity shift.
Do you only focus on the external actions or you work with the feelings also?
And then one day it's like, boom, you're suddenly,
How do you manage that gap without triggering your nervous system any further?
she's like, trust me, you're, like if you take a break, you're going to make more money. I didn't even need 90 days. I needed like 30.
Hi Marissa, welcome to It Girl Diary podcast. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
That is so great. So before we dive into all the business and identity stuff, because I'm so excited to know that from you, I just want to ask you, how are you really doing today?
I am really actually doing very well. I feel like I woke up this morning, was super productive. Now I'm in my sort of like meeting flow, and yeah, it's a great day. How about you?
I'm also doing great. Actually, I'm so excited to talk to you, have this conversation, and know more about you. So you have built an incredible businesses. I've read about that. And you shifted from the 8-figure operator to a mentor. So how did that shift happen?
It happened over a few stages, that's for sure. But largely, I was an operator. I was still working a full-time job as a COO and started feeling like, I've been sort of building up a lot of business knowledge and experience over the course of my career. And the part that I actually really loved about my role was more mentoring. At the time, I was mentoring the team and like growing the team. And I found myself really gravitating more towards the mentorship side of my role than the, nitty gritty sort of operator side of the role. And it kind of got me thinking, I love mentoring. I also just, being side by side with CEOs, like I'm also often mentoring them. We're looking at a problem from a different angle. And, I'm in sort of like strategy and mentorship conversations there. Why don't I actually make this what I do full time? Because this is what I love. So that's when I decided, okay, it took a moment to kind of get everything sorted to
Mhm.
properly leave and really start this business. But that was now several years ago. And yeah, I mean, that's basically how it happened. And then I started like anyone, where it was like I was starting from scratch and had to, kind of tap into my network and see how
Mhm.
could I make things happen and how could I get clients and all those things. And now I've built things to a different place today. But yeah, through a series of small steps, I would say.
Yeah, that is really good. So I want to ask, what did success look back then versus now? Now that you are on your own, you are handling everything on your own. So what is the difference there?
Yeah, so I actually did hire some team to help me because what I realized is I don't like doing everything myself and I don't like working alone either. So what I did for a few years, try to kind of wear every hat and do everything myself. And I think that's really common when you're starting a business, and that's what most of us have to start there. But then
Correct.
after a while, I thought, a lot of this is draining me. In particular, for me personally, I really don't enjoy the marketing side as much. Like I want to be coaching, and I want to be working with my
Oh,
clients and developing offers that are going to help people. And, I really like to be more on the product and client side. And I was spending 80% plus of my time on the marketing side
wow.
because, that's
Correct.
that's what's
Yeah.
required a lot of times. So I thought, okay, well, what if I were to bring in people to help me on the marketing, which would then free up time for me to develop out new programs and get new clients and things like that. So that's what I wound up doing, and I guess I'm in maybe month 5 or 6 of that now, and it's really like I love it so much. Like I love that. I mean, I'm in marketing still, but my team really is solid and they know what to do, and so then I'm able to, I don't know, I get better ideas now. Like I get more ideas for ways I can innovate and create new programs. Like I just created an app that's like incredible. I'm so excited about it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, delegation was the way to grow.
Wow. So I really want to know about that app. But before that, can you tell me, like, so many ambitious women really struggle with letting go and the
Yes.
delegation. So how did you make a peace with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to be honest, I still work on this. I was actually just having a conversation this week with my team, and they're asking me to to let go of the reins a little bit. It's difficult for sure. And the mantra I keep saying to myself, it's like we have an idea of what something should look like, maybe, or
Right.
what the exact copy should be, and things like that. But really, when you are delegating those functions out, it's important to let the team own what they're meant to own. I mean, yes, you might need to give feedback for a while, might need to sort of dial things in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep taking it over, and I definitely even still struggle with this, like taking something over and just doing it myself,
Correct.
you're never going to get to a place where the team actually understands your feedback and like can do it on their own because you've never really like coached them into that. And you're
Right.
really never going to get the time back to make it worth it to be paying to delegate so that you can actually do things that are going to increase revenue on the other side of the business. So it's not easy, but I would say it's in every moment I'm asking myself, okay, is this feedback just being like nitpicky about something, or is this feedback that they could actually apply to something later? Because if it's feedback they could apply to something later, then I think it's good feedback. Then it's like, okay, this is strategic versus this is just me wanting it to look a certain way. And if it's still good enough, then get it out there.
Right. I really love that self reflection, like what this feedback is about. And you talk about so much about the shading outdated identity, right? So, what does
Mhm.
that actually look like in practice? Like, did you apply that when you were starting delegating or just taking step back from the marketing?
I would say because me personally, because I had such a background in team leadership, that part was actually fairly easy for me. But
Mm-hmm.
there was other things I had to shed identity stuff around, like especially around, building more of a personal brand and getting more visible on, social media platforms in a different way than I had before. So I think any entrepreneur, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what your background and skill set is, you're going
Right.
to have something that's going to require an identity shift. And for me, I find it hard to say, okay, I want to claim this identity and just do it. Like we all can say that. I think we all have visions about who we want to be and the vision of, who we think we need to be to have the business that we want or to have the lifestyle that we want. And it's like we have a
Mm-hmm.
good sense of what that future self looks like. It's another thing to just sort of become that person. It
Right.
doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It happens with small incremental moves of making decisions like that person would make decisions and really being tapped into who she is and saying no to things that you should say no to if you were really, living that person. And these sort of small little movements that you do
Mm-hmm.
for a while will build up. And suddenly one day, and this is how I experience it, and this is how my
Right.
clients
Right.
experience it, where it's like you're doing these little behavioral shifts, you're making yourself do stuff you don't want to do and all this stuff. And then one day it's like, boom, you're suddenly like really more in line with that future self than you were with a former version of yourself. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just, you kind of leap quickly. So it's like the leap itself happens quickly, but it requires a bit of movement before you get to that place of just behaving and taking
Mm-hmm.
action as that person.
Right. So when you say you tap into that version of yourself, do you only focus on the external actions or you work with the feelings also? Like how are you feeling that feeling or the emotions? So what do you work with? What is the balance of action versus emotions?
Yeah, I think it's a probably a 50-50 balance, but I definitely tap into who that person is. I actually like to do exercises with my clients where we do visualizations and almost like meditation style visualization
Mm-hmm.
where I'll guide them and we'll put music on and I'll guide them into really, really visualizing who this person is, but then also feeling like who that person is.
Wow.
And I find that's a really good way to tap into
Mm-hmm.
that version of yourself. And so it's like once you have this like really kind of clear vision of who that is and these feelings that you feel like during a visualization type
Mm-hmm.
exercise, then it's like, okay, so I know what that feels like, but now I need to do the hard things because I don't yet really feel like her. I've tasted it, but
Mm-hmm.
day to day I'm still dealing with limiting beliefs or I'm still dealing with, things that are holding me back. And then it's okay, you have to just kind of tap in again to her, but then do the thing that's the hard, scary thing and do it
Mm-hmm.
in small doses.
Wow, I really like that. Like you have to feel that, but also show up to sustain that feeling. And when you
Yes.
say limiting feeling shows up, so how do limiting belief shows up in suppose high performing women that you work with? Like in what ways it shows up?
Yeah, I'd say the number one way is in resistance. So they know they should do something and they're procrastinating and they're not doing it, or they're finding every other reason of things that need to get done before this other thing needs to get
Mm-hmm.
done. And basically, they're distracting themselves and avoiding. So, avoidance is the number one thing I see. And so, if I ever see a client avoiding a certain task or procrastinating,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times it has to do with visibility. So, a lot of times it's about, like putting content out there and stuff like that. Then I know I'm like, okay, we're working with a limiting belief here. So let's figure out what that is and let's
Mm-hmm.
dispel it. Let's, bust it. But then other ones, sometimes it's just nervous system dysregulation. Like it's basically your subconscious kind of freaking out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you may not consciously be aware of what you're scared of or what that fear is deep down, but your body is like feeling a reaction. So you might, if you go into, it's like your nervous system, you have sort of the middle, calm, like normal part of like
Mm-hmm.
the window of tolerance, we call it. And if you pop out of that and pop up and get really anxious, and maybe your like chest feels tight, or you might feel racing heart, or you might have a hard time sleeping, and you might have like ruminating thoughts, like
Mm-hmm.
those things are all signals that there's some fear getting triggered,
Correct.
deep
Yeah.
down. And
Mm-hmm.
so then we need to see what that is. Or on the flip side, it could be that, if people kind of go into hypoarousal with their nervous system, then they're kind of more numbed out, and maybe their procrastination will show up there, but
Okay.
also just not feeling motivated, feeling really tired, getting a lot of brain fog when it comes time to work and stuff like that. And those are also signals that there's something going on in your subconscious that we need to clear so
Mm-hmm.
that you can get back into your regular like way of operating
Correct.
your brain function and all that.
Wow, this is so spot on, and I can completely relate to that because I think I am the procrastinator when things are going good. I cannot uplevel my identity and I procrastinate. So, how do you feel that gap? Like when you are procrastinating, but when you push yourself so hard, you kind of damage your nervous system. So, how do you manage that gap without triggering your nervous system any further?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually with my clients, especially when I know they're in like a kind of a place of this, like their nervous system is kind of shot, it's never about big moves. We take really small moves. So I actually was just talking to a client today, and I gave her some things to work on between our sessions, and but I made it very doable and simple because the thing she needs to do right now is just
Mm-hmm.
get back into motion. If I give her a
Correct.
big thing to do, it's just going to shut her down even more. So it's okay, what is like a small little thing that you can do that is progress? And then you do that one small thing, and then you're like, okay, can I do another small thing? Can I do another small
Mm-hmm.
thing? So you don't overwhelm yourself with like, well, now I have to make like all this money and I need to make this like big thing and I got to like get all this stuff out. And that's when you just, get yourself really in a place where you're going to need to probably
Perfect.
take a break,
Yeah.
or that being said, or you take a break. And I've been there too, where it's like, I got myself like this, like, really kind of
Mm-hmm.
stressed out and my nervous system was kind of out. And I was actually working with a coach. It really helps to have somebody reflect this back to you because we have our own internal stuff going on. And
Correct.
she said to me, she's like, Marissa, I want you to take a break, like take 90 days, like just take a break because you're not going to be able to create anything magical from this place that you're in right now. And she
Mm-hmm.
was totally right. And I was like resisting that. I'm like, how can I take a break? I can't take a break. Like I need
Right.
to generate more income and stuff like that. And so she's like, trust me, you're like, if you take a break, you're gonna make more money, like just coming like from being
Okay.
in a better place, right? And she was totally right. Like, so I took a break. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even need 90 days. I needed like 30. And then I was like feeling so much better.
Wow.
That's when I got the idea for my app. Like, and then things started like coming from there. So I really think it's about small movements, not putting a ton of pressure on yourself to try to do these like big things. And if you need a break, take a break.
Wow. So it is like training a dog or a baby, just taking baby steps, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, really it is.
Uh,
And it's like, I think entrepreneurs, we're also visionary. Like we have these big dreams and these big
hmm.
visions, but sometimes that is very overwhelming to think about how am I going to make this huge thing come to life? So
Exactly.
it's really more about, okay, like you have your vision, of course, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what's just like the next thing I have to do, or what is one meaningful thing I can do right now? Like, what's one offer that I can put out there? It doesn't have to be like the empire. It's just like, what's an
Correct.
offer that I could sell that would be really
Mm-hmm.
interesting for me to do right now and would, kind of put me on that path.
Correct. And it is really interesting that you said that sometimes taking a break makes you more revenue, but that
Yeah.
break is so hard. So I just want to ask you, what did you do in that break? Like, obviously, you weren't forcing the work. So, what did you do that will calm your mind and stay stable in that nervous system?
Yeah, so for me, like I really just started doing things I really enjoy. And this will change depending on the person and what it
Mm-hmm.
is that you like and what brings you happiness. So for me personally, like I do yoga and I do meditation and things like that, but I actually really like just going out and having fun and meeting friends and being moving around and exploring and
Mm-hmm.
like, so it's for me, it's not even necessarily about being like slow and calm, but it's about doing things that really light me up. And when I was in that mode of like, okay, I'm going to start doing more things that I enjoy and stop pressuring myself to work 10 hours a day, then all of a sudden my like vitality came back and my creativity came back. And, I got, yeah, I would just suddenly was excited where before I was just feeling like really pressured. So I think it really depends on who you are and what you enjoy. Because for some people I know for them it would be maybe even a silent retreat or like a
Correct.
lot of like meditation, a lot of inward stuff. I like to be around people. So for me it was like actually getting around people more. So it really kind of depends on like who you are at your core and what really lights you up. But be in those
Mm-hmm.
modes and those situations that are actually making you feel really happy.
Correct. So basically, coming back to yourself first and then thinking about the business work and the strategies.
Yeah, and giving yourself permission to not think about it. You will think about it. Like
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
think just guaranteed
obviously.
you will. But like but it's coming from a different place. It's not like, okay, I have to get this to-do list done. I have to like make a certain amount of sales this month. I have to. It's not, it's a different like, okay, I don't have to do any of that right now. I'm giving myself permission. And then suddenly you kind of want to think about those things. But again,
Mm-hmm.
you're being more creative and you're being more innovative in what you're thinking about.
Correct. So from this, I understand that you work at the intersection of like strategy and energies. So can you break that down simply for someone who thinks only logically, maybe a tech person or engineer who thinks only logically? So how do you explain that to them?
Yeah. So, okay. So, well, strategy is, I'll define these two things first. Strategy to me is what are the moves that we're making that we think are going to help get us to the outcomes that we want, and what does that tangibly look like? So are we going to decide to create a marketing campaign around a certain offer that we're selling, and what does that marketing campaign look like? That's like strategy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then there's like the energetic side of it. The way I would describe that is all about the founder, because if you are a founder-led business, then I guarantee your strategies will be impacted by how you feel about yourself and how you feel about the business and how the
Wow.
confidence that you have to sell and all those things. So so I define energetics as the like, how is the founder feeling? Do they have blocks that are getting in the way? Do we need to kind of release some of these things so that they can be in their full power? And personally, I like to really leverage human design for this because we're all designed so uniquely.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, we hear a lot of advice out in the business world that tell us to do things certain ways, certain strategies, right? And so we start to follow strategies that actually aren't right for us in our design. And then
Mm-hmm.
that throws our energetics out of whack. So I like to really look at a person and say, okay, like let's really understand who you are and how your energy is designed to work and how you're designed to make decisions and what your strengths are as a human. And then, we can kind of understand, all right, well, you have certain energetic needs. This is what we're going to make sure we're building around. And as we start to move into those strategies, I can see then where they're getting blocked because that's where the behavior stuff comes up. So then I can, work on
Mm-hmm.
removing those blocks with them.
Okay, so can you elaborate more on the human design? How do one find about human design?
Yeah, so there are a lot of sites, I have one myself, where you can go and understand your human design for free. Basically, what you need is your birth date, your birth location, and the exact time you were born. And when you
Mhm.
put in this information, essentially what you get out is your human design chart.
Okay.
And it's quite complex. I actually simplify it a lot for my clients, but
Mhm.
largely it's based on a lot of sort of ancient wisdom, like the chakra systems and things like that. But
Okay.
it basically tells you how you're designed to create, how you're designed to make money, how you're how you're designed
Okay.
to make decisions, how you know whether or not something is aligned for you or not. And the idea here, and it's so interesting and it's like undeniable to me when I work with people
Huh.
and we go into their human design that
Okay.
it's
Mhm.
very effective. And really the idea is our entire body is so intelligent, and there are signals that once we learn how to listen to them and read them, our bodies are giving us signals that are helping guide us in the right direction or take us away from the wrong direction. But we've conditioned ourselves to use our brains so heavily that we wind up sort of mentally overriding our full intelligence system. We only rely on our brains, and
Right.
then we have all this subconscious stuff going on. We have all this like logical stuff we're trying to do, and
Mhm.
we're actually ignoring this like huge part of our intelligence. So I bring
Right.
my clients back to that intelligence system. And when they do start really, designing their business around their unique needs, that's when they start to get really, really successful because it's like they actually enjoy what they're doing. They feel very competent and lit up because they're in their unique genius. And people can feel it. It's almost like you have this like magnetizing quality about you.
Mhm.
And so sales becomes easier. So it's just everything starts to align.
Wow. This sounds so powerful. It is like flowing with the river instead of against the flow.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And tapping into a lot of intelligence that most of us ignore because we don't
Right.
know how to read it.
Perfect. So once you find the human design, does it affect the other aspect of your life as well, like not just business, but also relationship, health? So do you get to know what do I need to do in every aspect?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely about every aspect. Like how I translate it for entrepreneurs, I translate it for them for business. But yes, it's about you as a human being and how
Mhm.
you are meant to interact with the world, essentially, and what your contributions are to the world. Because we a lot of times don't see our own contributions. We don't see what we're good at. We don't see our gifts because they seem normal to us, but to other
Right.
people, they're actually extraordinary. And so it really helps you understand what makes you unique and what makes people react to you certain ways and things like that. So yeah, it absolutely is helpful for relationships, business, everything, every aspect of life.
So can you give me one real life example where you find out this is my human design versus like now how are you reacting to certain situation versus previously when you didn't know? Like what is the clear difference there?
Yeah, I can. So for me, one of the clearest differences is I know two things about myself. One is I can be very fast and very potent when I'm actually really lit up about what I'm doing. And if I try to force myself to do something that is like against that, then I
Mhm.
actually really drain my energy really fast. And what I would do in the past was I would have this sort of like grind mentality of like I have to get this to-do list done.
Mhm.
I I like I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to get it done and I would like force myself to sit there and do something like that. And I would start to feel really frustrated. And for my type, I'm a manifesting generator, which means
Mhm.
frustration is the way that misalignment shows up for me. It's different for other
Wow.
people. For me, it's frustration. So I would feel frustration
Mhm.
and then I would keep working through the frustration because I wouldn't let myself take my foot off the gas.
Mhm.
That's when I would get myself and my nervous system would be shot and I wasn't producing that well. I wasn't even selling that well. And I was really frustrated and burnt out. But now, because I know that when I'm feeling frustrated, that's a signal that this is not aligned for me right now, that I will be working now. Maybe I'll start to feel that frustration kick in and I'll stop and I'll go do something different because I know that
Mhm.
if I feel that feeling that I'm not meant to be doing this right now, I'll go, do something different. Sometimes just take a walk or take a break or whatever. And then I'll come back and all of a sudden it's like I'm back lit up again and I can produce things in like 3 times as fast as I would have before trying to work through the
Wow.
frustration. Or I realize this wasn't something I was supposed to be doing anyway, and I wind
Mhm.
up doing something much more productive. So there's a lot of ways that it shows up, but for me, understanding when I'm out of alignment is a big one.
Wow, this is like incredible information to have. You can really like align your life with that and take the decision with flow and with calmness. This
Yes.
is really good. And you work with really amazing women. So, what are the unique challenges that women face in the scaling businesses or as a leader, as opposed to the men who are in the leadership role?
I think women just have more limiting beliefs that they've built up from their whole lives. And I think just, girls and boys grow up differently. Men and women like have different paths a lot of times in how society, treats
Mm-hmm.
you and all this stuff. So like
Right,
women tend to be more perfectionistic. They tend to be harder on themselves. They tend to think they have to do everything themselves, or they can't really ask for help. And yeah, they just put a lot of pressure on themselves, is what I find, and feel this like limitation of like, oh, this isn't good enough. And then they maybe compare themselves to other people that they don't even know their whole story. They're just seeing something on
perfect.
Instagram and they're comparing. Um, and so, yeah, they're just really hard on themselves. And not to say men wouldn't ever be hard on themselves either, but I
Mm-hmm.
just find that women doubt themselves more than men do.
Right. So, how do you navigate them? How do you guide them to get out of that limiting beliefs? Does it with just with the human design, or how do you approach that?
I definitely use the human design as the foundation of helping them understand what actually makes them uniquely powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
when, especially for women, when they are really like aligned with their design, that's like feminine leadership. They really come into their power.
Right.
But outside of that, I would say then it's about really challenging these beliefs, like identifying what it is that's holding you back, like paying attention to that and not accepting it, not saying, oh yeah, like I'm being really hard on myself. I'm just going to continue to do that, but instead say, okay, I am really hard on myself.
Correct.
Like I need to change. Like this is not a good pattern for me. I need to change this. Or yeah, I'm super perfectionistic. Like it's impossible to be perfect all the time. Why am I trying to be perfect all the time? And like really challenging these beliefs and paying attention to them and then doing the work to, get past that and let it go.
Right. So, just knowing your human design is like the half battle there. Then you can figure out the stuff, right?
Yeah, and I really think it gives you this like what I find with people, it gives them a lot of confidence to understand themselves in that way because yeah, they just start to see. I mean, it happened for me too. Like you just start to see the world differently and you start to see your contributions differently and you start to see, oh, like, yeah, that's why I'm not good at this one thing. It's not because I'm
Mm-hmm.
deficient, it's because I'm not designed for that. Like that I'm
Right.
designed for this and I'm really good at this. So why am I not leaning into this? So it gives you a lot of kind of permission to let go of the things that aren't for you, lean into the things that are, and then by default, you become a lot more confident because you're actually aligned with the things that make you uniquely powerful and magnetic. So, yeah, the confidence kind of comes as a byproduct.
Right. This makes so much sense. Like doing the things that actually brings the result and the peace so that you can grow way faster than just spending time on the non-important things, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Or just things that that's actually not your strength, and that's okay. You
Right.
don't have to be perfect at everything. So, find a different way to get that done and focus on what you're really good at.
Right.
And yeah, things are gonna
And you emphasize on the deeply fulfilling success. So how does it different from traditional success?
it's like to me success is more than just money. Like some people are like, oh, success is about how much money you're making,
Mm-hmm.
but and to me that's just success. But like fulfilling success, it's not necessarily like money isn't the first priority. It's more about like what is my impact for people or the world? Like what am I here to do? Like why do I get up every morning and do this? Hopefully it's more than just for a paycheck because you could just get a job and get a paycheck. It'd be a
Right.
lot easier, probably a lot less hours.
Correct.
But it's like, okay, well, if you're doing this, then
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing it for? So it's the difference between having like real purpose behind what you're doing and also being in alignment with who you are and like really being geared and like aligned with your strengths. And
Mm-hmm.
the money is a byproduct of that. Like the money comes because of that. But when it's just
Right.
only about money, that's when to me that's just not as
Mhm.
fulfilling.
Do you think you have found your purpose with this work?
Definitely. Yeah. I wouldn't, and this is like, I would not have even said this 6 months ago when I
Wow.
was kind of first really like putting this stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I've absolutely found my purpose because I've seen how much of an impact it has on the people I've worked with. And now I'm about to like make a much bigger impact with the app.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like it's
Wow.
life-changing stuff, and I can see that. And just knowing that I'm helping make somebody's life better and making them more successful, and but like what we just talked about, like not just
Mm-hmm.
successful in money, but successful in feeling just so good about what they're doing as a business, then yeah,
Right.
that's for me, that's super rewarding.
So, as a listener who is someone listening to this podcast, how can someone identify if they are building the profitable business or aligned business? How they can figure out themselves first?
I mean, your body's a pretty good indicator. Like, how do you feel every day? Like, do you wake up feeling energized? Are
Mm-hmm.
you excited about what you're doing? I mean, no matter what, there's always going to be some things you don't want to do, but largely is it like you feel really good about work,
Mm-hmm.
or is it like exhausting and you feel like you're burning out and you feel like you're, kind of running a hamster wheel? Like that's like your body's going to tell you and your nervous system is going to tell you whether or not you're happy.
Right. And I think so many people are accustomed to think that this is how work feels. We are not supposed to be happy because this is what you just have to do to earn money and make money. So many of us literally ignore the feeling that we are getting and we just keep going on. So
Yeah.
if someone finds out, okay, this is not aligned work, so what are the 3 steps they can take today or this week to move toward the next era? Like, how can they calm their nervous system or just feel aligned?
I mean, first I would really take an audit of like what is working in this business for me and what isn't. Like if you're not happy, let's be honest, let's start to point out like what it is that's making you feel tired or unhappy, and like just getting a state of the union on like, do I actually like this? Like, like
Right.
is this something I actually want to wake up and do? And
Hmm.
then really making sure you are kind of calibrating what you're doing in your business to what you enjoy and want to be doing. And then it's really making the moves towards that. And sometimes changing and pivoting can be a bit scary, but it's having the courage to do it. And then ideally you do have a mentor or group you're in or something where you have support. And so as you're making those moves, you can get the support when these blocks do come up or when you have the resistance come up and all those things, then you just kind of work through it as you go. So it's like staying in motion, but also just being really honest about what's working and not, and like not tolerating things that aren't for you.
Hmm. So it's like setting the standard for yourself first and
Yeah.
then moving on from now then. Right.
Yes.
So are there any daily practices that you do daily to stay locked into that new identity?
Um, I mean, I think I'm always just in evolution mode. So I don't know that I have any, honestly. Like I don't have a morning routine and stuff like that. I know some people like that, and that's fine. I
Hmm.
think this is an individual um thing of like what's going to work for you and what's not. But for me, it's, I guess the biggest thing actually I will say is gratitude. Like I always am so grateful for what I have and what I'm doing. And when I'm really recognizing that I've gotten myself to a
Hmm.
place that's like really spectacular, like I'm very grateful for it. And I think about that a lot. So I
Right.
do a lot of reflection and gratitude, but I don't have any like strict routines or anything like that. It's more about like the mindset.
Wow, I love that. So that is like the easiest thing to just come back to instead of just having the 10 steps a morning routine just to stay locked in.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
If you're just doing something because it's a routine, then that
Mm.
you're just putting, it's a to-do list again
Again,
versus
right?
like,
Again, you
what
are
just
going,
actually feels good. Yeah. Like I just feel grateful right now. I'm going to take a break and sit in the park for a bit and like actually honor like what I want. Yeah.
Mhm. And what's the hardest part of operating at your level that no one talks about? Like when you are managing so many people, like you have clients, you are listening to them every day. So, What is the hardest part of your work right now? Like you have your human design, you need to protect your energy also, but you also
Mhm.
have to show up for your clients. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest for me personally is finding a way to still have like close relationships with my clients and being able to get some one-on-one time with them and things like that without having tons of meetings because that's for me I need a spacious calendar and
Right.
I've figured it out now with a mastermind like I figured out how to do that
Mm-hmm.
and I still dial that in but it's yeah for me it's making sure I feel very connected to my clients and really know what's going
Mm-hmm.
on with them as individuals without loading my calendar up with like, meetings every
Mm-hmm.
like 6 hours a day or something.
Right, yeah. So have you ever faced a burnout or doubt, and how do you navigate that?
I mean, yeah, I have for sure. And it's a bit of what I was explaining earlier when my
Mm.
nervous system was really shot. My coach was telling me to take a break. And it was honestly the break. The break is what helped me come out of it. So I would
Right.
never suggest anyone push through a burnout. Like your body is telling you it needs a break. And so take it. And you're going to
Correct.
come back, you're going to bounce back like 10 times better than if you just drive yourself in the ground because eventually your body will make you take a
Mm-hmm.
break.
Right. You were telling me about your app. So can you tell me more about that? Like what is the app about and how someone can use it?
Yeah, so I'm launching it in about a week. It's really, really amazing. I'm
Wow.
super excited about it. And essentially what it does is it takes your human design and your astrology
Hmm.
and it decodes because they're very complex systems. So it decodes those systems into a 12 what I call code report. And there are 12 codes for an entrepreneur specifically. So it's, like what your unique genius is in your life's work, like based on, your inputs and
Mm-hmm.
what, like how you're meant to be visible, like what your best visibility channels are, how you're meant to sell, like what way of selling is going to be the most effective for you how you're designed to really manage your energy and who your ideal clients would be, things like that. So it really helps you understand specifically for an entrepreneur, like this is you. This is like how
Right.
you're designed and what you're designed for. So then you can really, it gives you a lot of permission, to be honest. Like for example, like my
Mhm.
personal codes will say that I am not designed for a lot of content creation and pushing a lot of content out and that kind of model of building a business. But you
Mhm.
see that model all the time because it's one of the most visible models there is.
Right.
So, for a long time I was thinking, oh, like I just have to build this big audience. I have to create all this content. I don't actually love creating content.
Correct.
And, I was kind of forcing myself into that, feeling frustrated all the time. And basically, what my codes say is you are going to make your magic by meeting people, by networking, by going on podcasts, by speaking on stages. Like that is how you're designed to be
Mhm.
visible. Let go of content creation because it's like you're just going to spin your wheels. And actually, when I look back, all
Mhm.
of my clients have come from those other things. Almost none have come from
Wow.
content creation. So it's like all I'm doing is wasting my time doing something that's really frustrating when I could be
Mhm.
using that time to do these other things that are actually what I'm designed for. That's how people receive me the best is in these other
Mhm.
modes. So it's things like that, but it's so, so helpful to just
Right.
dial yourself into how you're uniquely designed.
Correct. Even after finding out that, okay, for example, in your case, you are not meant to create the content or you don't feel good when you are doing that. So, how do you just accept that? Because there is so much noise around you, around the world. Like, okay, you have to create the content. If you are a founder, you cannot stay away from Instagram, Twitter, threads. So,
Mhm.
how do you just accept that and train your mind that it is okay to not do that just because everyone is doing that? You can take the step back. So, it could be any example for anyone. So, how did you navigate that in your case?
Yeah, well, what most people will find, and I did too, was I
Hmm.
first, when I was kind of reading this, I'm like, okay, well, let me actually see, like, where have my clients been coming from? And so I looked at the reality, and basically, I could trace all my clients back from teaching in workshops, being on podcasts, and being in network, like going to events and things like that. So basically, it gave me immediate evidence because it told me
Hmm.
this. I looked at where my actual sales come from. I'm like, okay, well, this is literally true. Like, this is
Right.
where. So it gave me a lot of permission right away to be like, okay, don't waste a ton of time on something that isn't actually moving the needle anyway. So for some, it can be like, actually look where your sales are coming from and see what, I mean, that's going to also tell you a story. And then also it's just, kind of believing in yourself then and saying, okay, well, if this is the guidance, let me try this. Like, especially if you haven't, maybe it's going to give you guidance that you haven't actually even tried yet. And maybe that's going to be your unlock. So
Correct.
if like, let's say I hadn't been speaking a lot or something, and I read this and got this information, I would be like, okay, well, let me try it then. Let me see how that goes. And the other piece of it is like what you are designed for is actually going to feel a lot easier to you and it's going to
Correct.
feel fun.
Right.
And so you're going to get a lot of permission to do stuff you don't want to do anymore.
So first step is actually trusting and believing in yourself that even if I take some other path, I will be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking for the evidence because you'll probably
Mhm.
find it.
Right. So I think your feelings could be that evidence and the guidance that if I do this, if I'm feeling good, then I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I think if it's as long as you're in motion, you're not just avoiding things. But yeah, if you're in motion and you're doing things and you're seeing results and you're feeling lit up and you're feeling like really confident about it and it feels fun to you and energy, actually, maybe fun is even the wrong word. Maybe it's just energizing. Like you're actually getting energy from what you're doing instead of it's draining all your energy. Like that's a really good indication.
Wow, I really love that. Like, if it is draining your energy, then it's not worth your time.
Right.
And how do you differentiate between, as you said, I really love that point that you said, as long as you are not avoiding it. So sometimes our internal monologue is we love ourselves. So we just make excuses for ourselves, like,
Yeah.
okay, no, I'm not avoiding, I'm just oh. So how do you tap into that and tell yourself, be honest with yourself?
Yeah. I mean, you just have to really be honest with yourself. You have to look
Right.
at what you're doing and say, am I happy right now because I'm avoiding the thing I don't want to do? Or, like, am I at least taking the steps I need to be taking to move the needle here? So, yeah, it's just about like really kind of being like observant and realistic with yourself and just knowing your patterns and looking out for them.
Right. So I just want to ask one question that what is the one belief that changed your life? Like one mantra or one indicator or anchor point that you keep coming back to?
Mm, that's a good question. I think for me, the thing I come back to the most is that your external reality is just a reflection of your internal reality. And we all have different realities that we're looking at, even in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of how we feel inside. So if you can fix how you feel inside, it's going to change how the world relates to you and how they respond to you and what's reflected back to you and what your external circumstances are. So I think about that a lot. If my external circumstances aren't entirely what I want, then I immediately look inward and say, okay, well, this is just a reflection of how I feel. So how do I change how I feel?
Wow. That is really good anchor point to have. Just come back to yourself instead of just looking at the external things.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And that is what human design will help you to do, right?
It will. Yeah. It'll really help you understand yourself in a very different way. And it'll allow you to stay in your lane and stay where you're actually most powerful. So you will start to see the external results change. And then that just gives you even more momentum.
Wow. And if someone listening to this feels like they are meant for more but doesn't know where to start, so what would you tell them?
Um, I mean, I would probably first want to get clear on like what does more mean? Like what is your vision? Like what do you want? Like if you could wave a magic wand and have any reality you wanted with no judgment or no anything, like what would that look like? And just get really clear about what it is you actually do want.
That is really good. And how does your app will help them to do that? Like, can you just elaborate more? Like, if someone wants to download your app, which is
Yeah,
launching next week, congratulations, by the way.
thank you. Thank you.
So, can you tell me what is the name of your app and where someone can get it? And if they want to work with you, how we can contact you?
Sure. So it's called Magnetic Power Codes. and it's at magneticpowercodes.com.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, you'll get your 12 code report that is you, the essence of you as an entrepreneur. And then there's also a chat feature. So you can ask questions, you can dive deep, you can, really understand it much better. And I give you a
Mm-hmm.
lot of prompts and things like that to help you like know what to ask. And it's going to be, I promise, an illuminating experience. It's
Wow.
amazing. And then to contact me, you can follow me on Instagram at Marissa Leeson. So Marissaliesen.
Okay, perfect. So, do you want to add anything to our conversation so people will get more understanding of human design and the identity shift?
Yeah, I think really the only last thing I would say is just know that you are so uniquely powerful. And just because you don't feel powerful in this moment, maybe if you don't, like that doesn't mean it's not there. It is absolutely there. And you have this like incredible thing you can tap into. And as soon as you do, that like momentum is going to start, and suddenly your life is going to look very different when you actually start like believing in yourself and like leaning into what makes you uniquely powerful.
Wow, that is so powerful. So, I really loved our conversation and I hope you enjoyed your time here on Integral Diary podcast.
I did very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.